Let's take a look at a normal takeoff and landing in an entry-level RC aircraft. This one happens to be a Cessna 150. It's made out of foam. It has an electric engine. And we're also using the simulator to aid in this production, if you will. But the real airplane flies much like the simulator. So this allows us to make several mistakes and reruns without wasting an inordinate amount of time. Okay, I'll kind of talk you through it as we go along. First thing we're going to do is start our engine, of course. We've already got takeoff flaps set and we've done a control check. We're going to advance the power slowly using the rudder to maintain direction of control. And she lifts off right away. Now normally you wouldn't make a turn to cross one leg that soon in a real airplane, but this is a model and we want to keep it in close where we can see it. Turn downwind, perpendicular, or parallel, I guess you should say, is the final approach fix. Keeping the power about half throttle to keep the speed down low to where we can stay in control. Made a little adjustment there to bring it more parallel to the landing path. And I'm using that big tree there to start my base leg. Now here's where a lot of people mess up. They turn final too late or too early. I'm going to use the corner of the field as my point to start to turn to final, and then I'm going to point the plane directly at me, trying to land in that fairway in the middle of the runway. There I made a slight correction to the left to keep it from hitting me, and use power and elevator to land. Not perfect, but not bad. We'll do a touch and go, leaving the flaps in the takeoff position for the full circuit. Again, turn crosswind. Could have used a little rudder in that turn. Wings level on the crosswind leg, then turn parallel to the landing runway. That's about the right height. Now I am using the safe mode, which is another point I want to bring up. The technology has advanced so much in model airplanes these days that it's a shame not to take advantage of it. I can release the sticks and the plane will remain straight and level. There's my big tree. Start my turn to base leg a little bit late. Staying above the tree line. Base leg. Reduce power a little bit to get it to start coming down. Now you want to make your altitude adjustments mainly with power. Turn final a little bit too soon. Point the airplane straight at me. Make that final correction in the last part. Now I might end up in the rough. Yep. Now I'm pointing towards those big weeds, which is not good, so I use a little bit of right rudder to bring it around and not damage the aircraft. And that's a normal takeoff and landing. Okay, let's try the same thing with a few changes. We've done our control check. Start the engine. Taxi up so you can see the flaps. And we're going to do a nose to flap takeoff. Do the right rudder. Turn crosswind. Now the airplane's going a little bit faster, so we want to keep it in close. So we're going to go ahead and turn downwind now. And I'm purposely going to turn off the safe mode to show you how difficult it is to keep track of where you're going. The airplane is much more responsive, but it's also oscillating around and doing things I don't want it to do, so I'm going to turn safe back on. In the process of doing that, I got way out there. I'm a little bit low. Turned base leg before my tree, but I had to. The airplane's awful small. It's difficult to keep the orientation of it now. Maybe I can get it back. Okay, there's my point to turn base leg. Taking that safe mode off really screwed me up. Turn final at the corner of the field. I'm a little bit low, so I'm going to add some power. And we're using full flaps for this landing. Taking the airplane a longer time to get to me because it's going slower. Try to point it straight at me. And right at the last second, pull that correction out. Use the power to control my descent rate with a little bit of up elevator. Oh, I decided to do a go around on this one. That was a low flyby, I'm sorry. With full flaps. Alright, we're going to leave it in safe mode for this pass, for the entire pass, and you'll see it's much more manageable. Still do have to add a little bit of up elevator when you get that much bank in there. Making a correction for my downwind leg to get me in a little bit closer. There's my landmark for turn to base, the tree. There's the corner of the field. That's my waypoint to turn final. Turned a little bit late, actually. Now, I'm paranoid about hitting that fence right there. So it's hard for me to point the airplane at myself, especially with that spinning propeller coming right at me. But I'll make my correction here. Full flaps. And put it right on. Okay, we're going to try the same thing, but with a conventional geared aircraft with two wheels in front and one in back. Going to take a little bit of forward stick to get the tail up. But this plane's got so much power, it's going to lift right off the ground. Now, I made a mistake there and pulled the power back a little bit too far. Got too low. So we'll correct that. And I have a bad tendency of not getting parallel with the field on the downwind leg. The plane gets a little bit far out. There's my tree. Start the base leg. Maybe a little bit low. There's the corner of the field. Point the nose right at me. Kick it out the last second. A little bit of forward stick on touchdown. And I ended up in the rough. Ideally, I should have gone between those two cones. So I used a little bit too much correction when I turned away from you. Alright, we'll try a full flap, full stall landing now, see how that turns out. Notice that I'm keeping the speed under control. There's no need to use all the power available in this airplane. I'm probably flying about less than half power right now. That has the added advantage of making your batteries last longer. There's my tree. Turn base leg. Alright, I've got full flaps out now, and I'm getting a little bit low, so level off a little bit. There's the corner of the field. Could actually delay that turn, or not use quite so much bank on that last turn, I suppose. Got the airplane coming right at me. This one's going to be in the fairway. Add a little power, back stick, full stall landing. Okay, now we're going to try even a more different airplane. Now this one's pretty fast and it's pretty small, so you got to keep it in close. We'll leave the gear and the flaps in the takeoff position to give us fewer things to worry about since it isn't fast and we got other things to be looking at. I'll take you up here so you can see the flaps and the controls. Now the power on this airplane is going to be a little bit lagging than was a propeller-driven airplane because it doesn't have the prop blast over the wing surfaces. So it's going to take a little bit longer to get off. Alright, notice that I pull the power back right away. If you don't, this thing will go out of sight and you'll lose it. I've probably flown the simulator 100 times before I tried the real thing. Same technique. There's my tree. Start my turn to base. There's the corner of the field. Now, since this plane goes a little bit faster, it takes a little bit more room to make the turns. Got it pointed right at me. Did a little wobble there because I was afraid it was going to hit me, but successful landing in between the cones. Now here's something I learned over 18,000 hours of flying commercial airplanes. Never continue a bad approach. Alright, it's starting to go bad there. It's way too low. A go-around's in order. But he's going to try and save it. But he's letting the airplane fly him instead of him flying the airplane. He ends up with a crash. Well, I'm not a model airplane instructor, but these tips have helped me out, and I hope they help you out too. I really don't care if you press the like or whatever button down below, but if you leave a comment and would like to see some more of the same thing, then maybe I'll have time to make some. In the meantime, have fun flying. Enjoy the hobby. I'd also like to point out that the simulator is a great way for you to learn how to do this. You can pre-position the airplane at a particular point and then continue the approach from there, which is what I've done here. So if you've got a particular area that you need to work on, you can literally put in hundreds of landings in a fraction of the time that you could by actually going to the field. And if you mess up, hit the fence, knock a wing off, just hit the reset button and you're good to go. Have fun.